just break up with this guy. You deserve better. You're a fine girl. There are many fishes in the ocean. A very typical example of self-abandonment is when you say no when you're supposed to say yes. Very recently, something happened. And on a normal day, I would have been the kind of person that would have told myself that you are not deserving of this opportunity. It's not people like you that vote for stuff like that. But I found myself, because I've come to a place of growth, I found myself saying that, why not me? But before now, years before now, I'll be the kind of person that when I see something, an opportunity to apply for, I don't bother to apply for it. Why? Because I feel like if I apply for this thing, I'll be rejected. So on behalf of the people I've already rejected myself, told myself that it's not people like you that goes for things like this. So I want us to learn something today, and that is thoughts, feelings, and behavior. And if you can understand this, it will really help in so many things. One thought that is very random or very typical is the example I just gave now. It's not people like me that gets this opportunity. And this is the kind of mindset I have. This is the kind of belief I have about myself, about anything. It could be opportunities, it could be relationship, anything at all. There is a consistent thought. It's not people like me that have things like that. And this thought leads to a feeling, which is anxiety, fear, agitation, all of that. And this feeling leads to a behavior. I see an application for a scholarship and I don't go for it. And instead of me to say, you know what, I think that I'm qualified for this scholarship opportunity. Remember when we were listening to the lady that was speaking here, she was intelligent. Every other person acknowledged her intelligence except her. And a lot of us are like that. Many times, what we focus on is behavior. And why is this important? Because there are so many talks about growth, a lot of inspiration on social media, motivation. You need to do better. You need to go for more. This is a behavior that we focus on. But too many times, we do not focus on what is actually triggering this behavior. Because this is the behavior that everybody sees. Sabotaging relationships, just doing the things that is against your will, against what you think you deserve as a person. But we don't know that this thing is coming from somewhere. So one thing I want us to start to do intentionally is pay attention to your thoughts. And I want you to really reflect on the last time something happened. I was at a particular place, and the lady was talking about how she had been in this relationship. She knows that she's not supposed to be in a relationship, but she has been holding on to that relationship for so long. And it's just wasting her time in that sense. And she knows I deserve more, but I still find myself here. And I asked her a question. I said that, is there something you're afraid of? And then she paused. And then she said, every time I think that if I leave this guy, I'm never going to get somebody else and I'm just going to remain single. Are you seeing how much a person's thinking is hindering them from moving forward? So it's easy for you to look from the outside and say, just break up with this guy. You deserve better. You're a fine girl. There are many fishes in the ocean. And we see all of these things. But if we don't tackle this mindset here, that makes her believe that if I leave this guy, I'm never going to get another guy. I don't think I deserve any other person. I don't think that I am worthy of love. Until we are able to deal with this, that leads to this, that eventually leads to this, we will not be able to change the outcome. So one of the things I like to teach is cognitive restructuring. So you have these thoughts that is consistent, that is leading to this, to your feelings and leading to your behaviors. So one thing that I always like to teach people is challenge those thoughts. For example, let me use relationship because that's something that is very popular. Somebody believes that if they leave the person that they are in, even though the relationship is toxic, it's not moving forward, nothing looks right on the outside, they feel like, let me just stay here because this is the best that I can get. You have to ask yourself, is this true or is it familiar? I hope you can see what I'm writing.
Yes, yeah.
That's the first question you ask yourself. So I want you to think about this in context to you as a person. So when you have those thoughts that flies over your head, that makes you feel inadequate, ask yourself, is it really true? Am I really inadequate? Or does this seem like a familiar thought? Because sometimes these thoughts are coming from somewhere, things that have been said in the past. We heard the stories. They cannot even exhaust the entirety of their life stories. So you have to ask yourself, is this the truth? Am I really inadequate? Or is this something I've come to really believe because it's a familiar thing that I've always seen around me? Maybe I failed once. And after that failure, my parents or my teachers kept calling me a failure. And I've come to accept that I'm a failure. And so when I see an opportunity to even apply for a promotion that I feel like I'm due for, I don't apply for that promotion. Because when I was a child, I was told that I was a failure because I failed mathematics. So this is the first thing you ask yourself. And then you answer that question. Maybe it's true. or maybe it is familiar, you will always find the truth in it. And then the second thing that you will have to do is, what is the evidence for this? This is how you challenge your thoughts. So what is the evidence that backs up the fact that I'm not good enough? Because the thoughts that we have in our head, they're like strongholds that we hold on to so much. And so one of the ways that you challenge those negative thoughts or those thoughts that puts you down is to ask yourself, what is the evidence that backs this thing up? So evidence number one, okay, I failed in primary school. Does that make me a failure? Because when you look at it, a lot of times when something happens to us, we zero in on that experience and we judge our entire lives by that experience so much that it begins to dictate the course of how our lives goes. So you have to ask yourself, what is the evidence that backs this? So for example, in the case of that relationship that I talked about, this lady believes that if she leaves this guy that she's dating, she's not going to find another person. What is the evidence? You will ask yourself those questions. Is it that a man are finished in Nigeria? And if man are finished in Nigeria, a man finished in the world. So you have to be able to attack those things, because when you don't, it lingers. And your mind is so powerful that it can create so much. In your mind now, you can decide to go to America, Jamaica, you can travel everywhere because the mind is that powerful. And it works the same way for negative things too. And so you have to get to a point where you ask yourself, what is the evidence that backs it? And answer it. And then the third thing that you will do is, what is a more balanced perspective to this thing that I think about myself? So it could be that, for example, you want to apply for something and your thought already tells you that if you apply for it, you're going to be rejected because you are not qualified. Now, a more balanced perspective says that there is a possibility that my application might be rejected. There is also a possibility that when I apply for this thing, I am going to get it. So if the possibility exists that my application will be rejected, what could be the reason? Or what could be the things that I would do that would lead to that? That will help you to prepare more, position yourself better, and be more intentional. When you think about it in the positive side as well, it can also help you to build the confidence that tells you that I am deserving of everything that I want. And it's not because I am, like she was saying something about seeing herself as a third-class citizen, you know, and there are people like that have that mindset. But when you come to a point where you are able to question these things, you have a balanced perspective and you have a better way to answer it. So what you now do is, you now get to a point where you now start to ask yourself, you do two things, right? So there is already a belief that is existence here. So we have old belief and we have new belief. Because it's not enough to be able to challenge your thoughts. You have to be able to replace the old with the new. Your old belief says that it's not people like me that gets this kind of opportunities. Now, what is going to be your new belief if you want to begin to attract better opportunities? You have to create it. And this is where the power of affirmation comes in. People talk about affirmation a lot, and we think that it's one of those things that people just say for the sake of saying it. But there is so much power, because when you say something consistently, you start to believe it. The reason why you believe that it's not people like you that get opportunities like this is because it was said over time till a point where it became truth. So even though this is not true, because you've heard it so much, you have seen it so much, you have come to accept it as truth. So it's going to take that same level of intensity for you to rewire your mind. The problem is that a lot of times, people are not ready to do the work. People say, oh, go for therapy. When you go for therapy, all your problems will be over. So I've seen people come into therapy with the mindset that I'm coming to dump my responsibility on the therapist and just tell me what to do and I'll be okay. But there is a part that you have to play as well. And part of the process of therapy, she was talking about assignments. There are assignments that you do that sometimes will make you confront certain things. Confront the things that you have buried. Because a lot of times people think that, oh, I've moved on from a situation. You experienced something 10 years ago and you feel like you've moved on. And you can be somebody that is very functional in life. You're doing so well. You've achieved a lot of things for yourself. But there is still that residue of pain that when something triggers, it comes out. So one of the things that doing the inner work does is that it brings it back to the surface. And you have to confront those things face to face. Not everybody is really ready to go through that journey. But if you're really going to heal, you have to be able to confront it. And you have to be able to put these things into perspective.